Welcome, everyone. As Natasha said, if you were looking for a presentation on tech hiring, sorry, you're in the wrong place now. We're going to talk about this. I'm Paul Sumner, so I'm the head of recruitment at National Express. I've been there about 18 months now. I did 10 years agency side. I've been in-house for about 5 years. Every role I've had has been high volume. I was lead at Compass Group across the UK and Ireland. Current role is UK, Germany and Spain. Believe it or not, we do trains, not just those white buses that go up and down the motorway. So volume in recruitment is kind of my bag. So when it comes to volume recruitment, if any of you have done it, who feels like this guy? Pretty normal. Nobody ever gets into recruitment and goes, you know what, I want to get a job doing 1,000 hires a week. You start off with 2, you get to 4, you get to 8, and suddenly before you know it, you got 100 that you're doing a week. So it's completely normal. Just to get a bit of an idea, who here, I don't know, recruits 10 people a week or over 10 people a week? 50? What was a few? Hundreds? Okay, fine. I'm about 150, 200 a week. So what I'm going to take you through today, so 4 main points. How do we identify the problems? Key pain points, what does good look like, and implementing change. I often think in volume recruitment, we look at change as a massive problem and it's going to take ages, when in reality, hopefully, I can give you some takeaways of how you can do this nice and quick. So the first thing I do whenever I go into a business in the roles that I've had is I'll map my candidate journey first. Pretty basic stuff. We'll look at the attraction, look at the screening, look at the interview, look at the offer. Now, the problem I find with every business that I go into when I do this is I will just get told, this is what we do for attraction, this is what we do at screening, interview, offer. What I like to look at is what's the candidate action in the process, because we talk about this whole candidate experience, but we're pushing our system on them, not the other way around. And I think in today's market, war for talent, and especially at the volume level, there's loads of competition against us. So just to give you an idea, now look, this is for a bus driver example, so don't worry about the content. I mapped out successfully. This is our first go at post our changes, actually, and it just gives us a good start point as to what everybody's doing at each action so that we can work our way through and look at the pain points as we go through, but I won't bore you with that too much. So I think I've said on other events where I've done this, that the most important thing, and especially within volume recruitment, is you can use data far better. If you're recruiting, I don't know, 50 people a year, there's room for anomalies in there. You'll get skews in data that you just don't get in volume. If you've got thousands of applications, thousands of interviews, thousands of offers, it completely changes everything, and you can make really informed decisions on stuff rather than just guessing. So I tend to use a very corporate pyramid. So what I like to look at is how much activity, does it take for us to get to 100 starters? And these are the stats when I started. So we had a 40% dropout between offer and start, which is alarming, as you'd imagine. So I start working my way up. Okay, so I need 140 offers for me to get there. We then only had a 30% success rate between interviews attended and offer. So now I'm like, okay, I need 238. Then I find out we have a 32% dropout between interviews booked and attended. Numbers getting bigger. You see where this is going. I then had another 30% dropout between SIFT and interviews booked. That's the one figure I'm not too worried about. It shows my team are doing their job. They're sifting through bad candidates. It's the one thing we had control on. But I'm up to 450. And then we have 50% no contact. So I need 980 applications. And for somebody down there who just said you were doing 100 a week, how about trying to get 980 applications a week? Not easy. I'm a big fan of work smarter, not harder. So I went and looked at this, and I'll come on to how we did this. Sorry, 10% up to start. But you're looking at 24,000 applications a year. Now, bear in mind, you'll be working in the same market because you'll have the same sites, probably in a volume arena. So in 5 years worth of applications, you're looking at having to get over 100,000 applications. You're going to quickly run out of candidates doing this. And all the way through to your interviews and your offers. So again, so I looked at it. So we made some changes. Like I say, we'll go through them in a minute in a bit more detail. But for 100 starters now, we have a 15% dropout. So we've gone from 40 to 15%. Pretty normal attrition within the volume space. Obviously, everyone would like that to be zero, but we're not all geniuses, so we can't do that. We have a 72% success rate. Now, in your head, you might be thinking, well, that means the interview is probably a bit easier. The way I look at it, actually, the interview is the same. We do the same assessment. It means my guys who are doing the actual recruiting boots on the ground are doing a better job by getting them to this point. Better sifting. And we looked at the quality of what we were doing in that period. So 147 interviews now. We still had a 30% dropout between interviews booked and attended. We're slightly below. We've gone down 5% on that. And this was in the first 6 months, so I'd expect it to be slow. 27% dropout initial sift. Again, I'm not worried about that. That's absolutely fine. My guys are doing their job. Still 50% no contact. Do not worry about that. Volume, entry-level roles, you will always get dropout. I only report figures of my applications from once we are in contact with them, because they're bought into the process. It's the old thing where people are clicking on 10 different jobs just to get job seekers, or they've actually got 20 things on and yours might be number 20. They're thinking, oh, I'll just put it on. So as soon as they're in the process, you can control that. Before that, it's really tough for you. So don't beat yourself up about losing it at that stage. So that got us to 20% apt to start, and that was in a 6-month period. We're about 22, 23 now, so we're kind of really pushing on. So how do we do it? Oh, much easier numbers-wise. So I'm a big fan of just do it. I think many a solution has been stuck in a project and excellence team. Now, sorry if anyone ever worked in those arenas, but when I go in and I see a post-it map all over the wall, it gives me shivers, because I know that that's going to take me 6 months to get anything over the line, because it's going to go there, go to an exec sponsor, and we all know how that works. We're the experts, so we should be pushing it back on them. My boss almost calls our excellent teams my administrators, because they just go around documenting things behind me rather than the other way around. We're the experts, so we need to act like it. The Project Excellence team have never recruited in their life apart from 2 roles in their team. So really push that you're the expert. So I think looking at the data, finding your problem is the first part. So I obviously looked at that funnel. It's a very simplified version. It's a good place to start. You can quickly see where your drop-offs are, and you can get something in place quickly. What I would say is start at the bottom, not the top. Quite often, and your bosses will say it, they'll just say, oh, just go and get more applications. Well, if the bottom's broke, what's the point? So start at the bottom, work out where your leak points are, and work your way back. And as I say, remember that you guys are the experts. Don't worry about getting a full project plan for the whole of your recruitment process. Take it part by part and change stuff. It's amazing how much impact you can make just by changing tiny things. And we'll go on to that in a minute. So I'm going to go through the various stages, what we did, what we changed, and how that's kind of affected our recruitment going forward. So attraction's not just about applying. Is there any sound? Oh. Anyone watch Love Island here? Nah, me neither. So look, how do we make sure the candidate puts all their eggs in your basket? I'm a bit out of touch. This should be Married at First Sight, shouldn't it, at the moment? But so candidates are now consumers. They're not thankful for a job anymore. We have to go out and impress them. So they're consumers. Now, consumers, whether you're buying a coffee in the morning, you care about speed, control, and it's your choice and it's flexible. So you have to look at how you can apply that within the candidate markets that you work in. So what matters to a candidate in your market? So what matters to my bus driver recruitment is very different to I've got a 200-seater call centre. What matters to them is very, very different. So we have to adapt the process. And how do you reach your mass market directly? Now, I break it into the 3 pots: reactive, proactive, and pre-contemplation, which is very corporate sounding, but I'll explain it in a minute. So most of what we do as recruiters, we spend most of our time in reactive, so especially in volume. We've got so many applications that all we want to do is we've just got to churn through our applications. We sometimes do a bit of proactive, we'll go to a job fair, we might do the odd e-shot or something, but we spend our most time in there. The real nugget is in the pre-contemplation phase. So pre-contemplation to me is, in a simple terms, is before you've thought about it. So, for example, if in the proactive spot, I'll be looking at, and you'll be looking for, I'll be looking for a driver who works for Amazon to come and work for me, or somebody who's driven something before if it's a driver. For a pre-contemplation stage, I'm looking for somebody who works in a warehouse who I can pay more to, who's never thought about driving, coming into the driving world. That's where nobody competes. I'm competing against the person who just wants to get a warehouse to a warehouse. If you can get into this pre-contemplation market, it makes a huge difference. And that, to me, is truly changing perceptions of brands. It's not just being the best brand in your market, it's being the best brand in the local area by changing perceptions. And volume candidates will predominantly be mobile appliers. You've got to make sure that when people are applying, though, it's no more than 15 clicks. You'll know if there's a form you're filling in when you're buying something online. If you're filling in form after form after form, you'll be like, do I really need this? Same thing with the applications. Any more than 15 clicks, you've lost them. So when you go back, go through your application, see how many times you click your mouse or your thumb if it's a mobile one. The average UK process, a bit of research done by Reed, is still 43. Again, if we're looking at these little differentiators and the small marginal gains as we go through, if you can make yours easy to access, it makes a massive difference. So you'll see there's a bit of a theme here. So the first chat. So the quicker you can get them face-to-face, the better. Momentum in a process, especially in volume, is massively important. So the hook, do not get stuck in email tennis. You have to get some human interaction in straight away. And it's a common theme through this, is the human interaction piece. Because I think we went so far during COVID into a digital way of recruiting, we haven't really found our way back. And a candidate experience, you never get a good candidate experience from a robot. You get it from a person. But we wait too late to put the person in. We wait to the end of the process to put the person in. We try and put it in at the front. Back to the consumer thing, we give them control. So our candidates control their own first interview times. So I kind of manage my team. I have about a team of 20 delivering this. So it's 20 delivering over 2,500. So it's pretty well drilled now. But we let the candidate control the timing. We work different times of days to make sure that we can accommodate anyone who wants to work for us. And that shows a bit of flexibility from our side, but also allows them to probably come to us quicker because they're not waiting for the next day off or trying to get there at a weekend, or we can get them in the next day, literally. And in volume, again, we don't do this. We need to keep in constant contact to encourage them to embark on our process. So the real process to me is from interview onwards. We use emails loads. A very simple thing is stats show that people open 98% of their texts in the first 3 hours. Are we using it? And if you telephone screen at this stage, this is something I implemented, why don't you video interview? There is no difference to your time. As you pick up the phone and ring, if you press a button and ring, makes no difference. But immediately put some human interaction in the front of it. It means that your team have to get out of their pajamas and out of bed in the morning and put some clothes on. But it's a good way of getting that human interaction and differentiates you first up. Because how many people, if it's a number you don't recognise, you let it go to voicemail, listen to the voicemail, then decide whether you're going to get back. This way, we're really driving it ourselves. Our tech intervention we use is Calendly. That's what we use for people booking their own interviews. But look, if you want to speak to me afterwards about that, I'll tell you through it. Number 3, the date. So we're finally going to meet them. So your effort's rewarding their interest. Everything that you've done previously and all the effort you've put in will reflect their interest in your role. So key things, what to focus on when you do get to meet them. Face-to-face contact. Who here runs assessment days? Sorry, I might offend some of you now. The assessment day to me is dead in terms of, now I'm sure you do is slightly different to this, but a full day assessment or a half day assessment where we expect somebody to come, sit there for a day, do group exercises, I don't know, have individual interviews, do skills test, that's dead. Because who wants to take half a day off work to do that? Again, you're delaying your process. There's no speed in it. You're going to lose people. So yes, we do volume days where we get 20, 30 people through the door. But they do not see another candidate apart from crossing them in a hallway. Everything they do is individual. So we do have to do by law a certain test on highway code, but they go in and do it on their own with some supervision and help. So somebody meets them literally at the front door. And I have an assessment team where once the first person's brought one in, the next one goes. We take them through a drug testing, we go through an interview, but we do it so that they feel they have had an individual experience, but we still manage to get through the volume. You also, I don't know if I've got this on the next bit. Yeah. The environment's really important. How often is your assessment days in the worst place in your office because you can't get anywhere else? Use the best places. If you've got a new site, new office, new fit out, use that. Makes it slicker. Again, better experience. And of those who do the assessment days, do you have hiring managers there or not? Or yeah? How good are they at it? Yeah, that face says it all. So hiring managers are bad at interviewing, generally speaking. We're the experts. Again, they're not the experts. But I think in the recruitment market, we're still passive. We still like, oh, Mr. Hiring Manager, do what you want. It's fine. It's not fine. You need to teach them what they're doing wrong. And even in a volume environment, they do it even worse. They expect to come somewhere like this, stand at the front, say, this is National Express, this is what we do, and then slope off to a corner. Now, you need your hiring manager there and available and part of that interview process all day. And it might be a different hiring manager every time, so you're not taking up too much time. But again, you're starting to deal with the handover between our team and the operational team. And if that, again, isn't smooth and we lose people in that stage, the exec are still going to see the vacancy number. They're not going to see, oh, we did offer him, but he didn't turn up because he didn't like the hiring manager. So take your hiring managers through it. They won't like it to start with. They'll feel like you're condescending them. They'll have an ego about it, but you've got to do it because this is all our hard work and it can be ruined by one interaction. And like it or not, at this stage, competition is at its fiercest. You've got to be realistic around the experience at this stage will pretty much dictate. The challenge and the system of getting them there, you can make that into a bit of a churning machine through the right contacts at the right time. But here is the real place they make their decision. So the offer, the final recoupling. So look, we need to make sure that you're the one and only obvious choice. Now, everything you've done before this leads to this moment. It leads to the moment where they're going to make the decision on which company they end up with. And this is ultimately the true test of your process. They'll probably have multiple offers on the table. Generally, in volume recruitment, the salary lever is fixed. So that's not a lever we can pull anymore. I know in my business, if we had a pound onto the base hourly rate, it will cost us $4.5 million. So that's not going to happen. Never, ever offer by email. Don't let them leave and say, we'll speak to you soon. Offer them on the day. You generally know by the time they've gone through the interview, even if you have to get them to wait 5 minutes while you make a call, let them know on the day. Either way, let them know on the day, because they'll have far more respect for you to say, look, it wasn't right because of X, Y, Z. If you go away and come back with that experience, or if you interview in this way in the future, that's going to have a far better candidate experience that will go out into the marketplace than if you just send the email because we feel a bit awkward telling them they didn't get the job. And this is the start of the onboarding process. Again, we don't want to lose people at this point. It's not oh, we've recruited them, wipe our hands for it, and off they go. We have to start the onboarding process. So as we offer, it's a case of this is exactly what you're going to expect between now and start day, and take them through that stage by stage. So again, they feel comfy. Offer on the day. So post-offer, what are we doing and what do we change in this? Your work isn't done. We ensure that every candidate gets a contact weekly between their, to give you an idea, generally it's about a 4-week leeway between offer and start date for us, just based on our training availabilities and how we bring them through. But we reduced our dropouts by 25% just by making phone calls. So again, we have different shift patterns where we tend to do these calls post 5 o'clock. The whole team will sit there once a week. They'll start a bit later, and we'll hammer through those calls before we go. To give you an idea, generally we have about 200 people in that, well, 200 to 300 people in that weekly call cycle, because some get straight through because they're immediately available. There might be slots around. But we also don't badger them. So on the first call we make with them, we'll say, how often do you want to be contacted? How do you prefer? Again, if we go back to that consumer piece, we're giving them the flexibility about how they do it. They feel like they're in control, they get what they need, we get what we need, and they're going through the better process. Because how often we'll end up like this? Classic one, we think we've done an absolutely great job, but actually the candidate's going, well, I've said I'll take it, but I'm never going to work there. And that is the dropout we have. We want to be mutually happy with the fact that we've got them through, and that's they're going to be a successful employee and start with us. So, key takeaways that we've got. Take a data-led review of your repeat volume roles. So, to give you an idea now about this whole process that I've just told you, we've gone from app to offer, about 14.6 was our number. We're now at 6 days app to offer. That's actual days, not working days. So I'm confident that in my market, no one else is beating me on speed. So the only thing that I can lose on is quality. To give you an idea on time through that process, we'll make contact and book someone in for an interview within their first 24 hours of doing that. We can get them to an assessment centre then the next day, and they can be offered. We're getting people now quite regularly who are offered within 72 hours of the first click or the 15th click on the end. We can get them offered that quickly, so we won't be beaten on speed. But take a data-led review and use that as your benchmark. How quickly can we get the same 100 candidates through that we had before? Challenge the norm of the process. Don't believe that if you speak to a hiring manager and, I can only get to 1 in 3, 1 in 4, why can you only get to that? How much money is it only going to cost you if we can't get the candidates in quick enough? Start to really push it. Work smarter, not harder. Go after those leaks first. Don't try and fix the whole problem straight away. It's not going to happen. Speed of process. Have we got any unnecessary activity we can get hold of? Volume candidates, not just a number. As you can tell, as we've kind of gone through this, human contact makes them feel special. Make them feel like if me or you was going for an interview, make them feel the same. Shouldn't be any different. They're not a lower class of citizen because they're going for a volume role, and that's how historically they've been treated. Ensure the candidate has multiple human contact points. So, as I said, we will contact somebody all the way through as a human. Don't do telephone calls, do video calls. Give that individual service all the way through. Back, just a quick point on that calling. We make sure it's the same person calling them, and that is the same person who met them at the door on their assessment day. Consistency, buy-in. It's simple stuff. It's not groundbreaking, but if you set the system right, it'll work. And don't be afraid of a quick change. Like I said, don't wait for the post-its on the wall. Find your pain point. How can we fix this 10% of the process? Okay, then how do we fix the next 10%? And quickly you'll get there. It's easier to change a team's behavior in little bits and try and just drop a new process on top of them. Doesn't work. And in conclusion, just get on and do it. Don't waste time. Hopefully this presentation is a bit more practical maybe than some of the others you'll see today. You can go and do this tomorrow. There's nothing stopping you getting out there tomorrow and making a real change in this process. Well, that's it. Thank you very much.